The alarm screamed through the corridors of the human exploration ship Endeavour. Commander Sarah Chen ran to the bridge, her boots hitting the metal floor with sharp sounds. Behind her, the other crew members followed quickly. Their faces showed worry and fear. "What's happening?" Sarah asked as she reached her command chair. Lieutenant Torres looked up from his station. His hands shook as he pointed at the main screen. "Commander, we have contact. Multiple ships approaching fast." Sarah stared at the screen. 6 large ships moved toward them like dark shadows against the stars. These ships looked nothing like human vessels. They had sharp edges and strange curves. Purple lights glowed along their sides. "Try to contact them," Sarah ordered. "Send standard greeting messages on all frequencies." Torres worked at his controls. After a few minutes, he shook his head. "No response, Commander. They're not answering any of our calls." The alien ships moved closer. Sarah could see weapons on their hulls. Big weapons, the kind that could destroy the Endeavour in seconds. Her small exploration ship had only basic shields and no real weapons. "They're surrounding us," reported Chief Navigation Officer Kim. 6 ships in attack formation. Sarah felt her heart beat faster. The Endeavour carried only 12 people. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. They had come to this part of space to study new star systems, not to fight wars. "Incoming transmission," Torres said suddenly. "They're finally talking to us." "Put it on screen." The main display changed. A face appeared that made several crew members step back. The alien had gray skin like old stone. 2 large yellow eyes stared at them. Sharp teeth showed when it spoke. Scars covered the left side of its face. "Human vessel," the alien said. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "I am General Krexthul of the Zephyrian hegemony. You will surrender now." Sarah stood up straight. She tried to look brave even though her hands wanted to shake. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the human exploration vessel Endeavour. We are peaceful explorers. We mean no harm to you or your people." General Krexthul made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peaceful? My sensors tell me different stories. You carry weapons, human, dangerous weapons." "We have only basic defensive systems," Sarah replied. "Nothing that could threaten your ships." "Do not lie to me," Krexthul growled. "I have conquered 17 different species. I know weapons when I see them. My tactical officer has found something very interesting on your ship." Behind the general, another alien appeared. This one was smaller and had blue skin. It held a device that beeped and flashed with lights. "General," the blue alien said, "the energy signature is stronger now. Whatever they have hidden in their cargo bay, it's powerful. More powerful than anything in our databases." Krexthul's yellow eyes got brighter. "You see, human commander, my people are not fools. We know you hide something from us." Sarah felt confused. She knew everything on her ship. They carried scientific equipment, food supplies, spare parts, and personal items. Nothing that could be called a weapon. "General, I assure you we have no weapons of the type you describe," she said. "Then you will not mind showing me," Krexthul replied. "I am coming aboard your ship. You will take me to this weapon. If you refuse, I will destroy your vessel and everyone on it." The transmission ended. Sarah looked around at her crew. She saw fear in their eyes. Lieutenant Torres was very young, only 23 years old. This was his first deep space mission. Chief Kim had a family back on Earth. Engineer Miguel Santos stood near the back, worry lines on his face. "Commander," Torres whispered, "what do we do?" Sarah thought quickly. They could not run. The alien ships were faster and stronger. They could not fight. The aliens had better weapons and shields. They could only try to talk their way out of this. "We cooperate," she said, "for now. Maybe we can convince them we're not a threat." 10 minutes later, lights appeared outside the ship. The aliens were boarding. Sarah heard the docking clamps lock into place. Then she heard footsteps in the corridors. Heavy footsteps. General Krexthul entered the bridge with 4 soldiers. Up close, he looked even more frightening. He was tall, maybe 7 feet. His armor was black with purple trim. The soldiers carried weapons that hummed with energy. "Human commander," he said, "you will take me to your weapon. Now." "What weapon?" Sarah asked again. Our sensors show nothing unusual. The blue alien who had followed them aboard held up his device. It was beeping faster now. General, the signature is very strong. It comes from the lower cargo bay. Krexthul grabbed Sarah's arm. His grip was strong enough to hurt. Take me there now. If you try to trick me, my soldiers will kill your crew one by one. Sarah looked at her people. Torres looked like he might be sick. Kim stood very still, but Sarah could see her hands shaking. Miguel had moved closer to his toolbox, but Sarah shook her head slightly. Fighting would only get them all killed. Follow me, she said. They walked through the corridors of the ship. The alien soldiers looked at everything with suspicious eyes. Their weapons stayed ready to fire. Sarah led them toward the cargo bay, trying to think of what could be causing their sensors to react. General, she said as they walked, perhaps your sensors are picking up our reactor core, or maybe our communication array. My sensors know the difference between ship systems and weapons, Krexthul replied. What we detected is something else, something you humans are hiding. They reached the cargo bay door. Sarah put her hand on the control panel. She hesitated for a moment. Once she opened this door, there would be no going back. Whatever the aliens thought they had found, they would see it. Open it, Krexthul ordered. Sarah pressed the button. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside the cargo bay, containers and equipment sat in neat rows. Everything looked normal and peaceful. The blue alien's device went crazy. It beeped so fast the sounds almost joined together. Lights flashed red and yellow. There, the alien said, pointing with a shaking finger. In the far corner, behind those containers. General Krexthul pushed past Sarah. His soldiers followed him into the cargo bay. They moved the containers out of the way with their strong arms. And there, sitting quietly in the corner, was Miguel's pride and joy. His restored 1970 Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Black paint gleamed under the cargo bay lights. Chrome pipes reflected their faces. The machine sat on its kickstand like a sleeping animal. What is this thing? Krexthul demanded. Sarah stared at the motorcycle. This was what had the aliens so worried. Miguel's bike? She almost wanted to laugh, but the situation was too dangerous. It's a motorcycle, she said. A ground vehicle. For transportation. Krexthul walked around the bike slowly. His yellow eyes studied every part of it. The exhaust pipes, the engine, the fuel tank. His tactical officer kept scanning it with the beeping device. Transportation? Krexthul said. My sensors say this is a weapon, a very powerful weapon. Sarah realized the aliens had never seen anything like a motorcycle before. Their technology was all energy-based and quiet. They did not understand machines that burned fuel and made noise. General, I promise you, it's just a vehicle, it's not dangerous. But Krexthul was not listening. He was staring at the motorcycle like it might explode at any moment. The beeping from the scanner was driving everyone crazy. You will demonstrate this weapon, he said finally. Show me how it works. Show me its power. Sarah felt her heart sink. How could she explain that a motorcycle was harmless? And what would happen when the aliens realized they had been wrong about the threat? The situation was getting worse by the minute. Sarah stared at the motorcycle and then at General Krexthul. The alien's yellow eyes were fixed on Miguel's bike like it was a bomb ready to explode. The tactical officer's scanner kept making those annoying beeping sounds. The noise was getting louder and faster. This is not a weapon, Sarah said again. It's just a motorcycle. People on Earth use them to travel from place to place. General Krexthul turned to look at her. His scarred face showed anger and suspicion. Do not lie to me, human. My sensors do not make mistakes. This device shows massive energy potential. The electromagnetic signatures are unlike anything in our databases. The blue-skinned tactical officer stepped closer to the bike. His scanner was going crazy now. Red lights flashed all over the device. General, the readings are incredible. This thing could be more dangerous than a plasma cannon. Sarah wanted to laugh, but she knew that would be a very bad idea. These aliens had obviously never seen an internal combustion engine before. Their sensors were reading the electrical system, the fuel, and the metal parts. To them, it probably Looked like some kind of exotic weapon. May I ask? Sarah said carefully. What exactly your sensors are detecting? The tactical officer looked at his device. High-energy chemical compounds in the storage tank, electromagnetic ignition systems, dense metal construction that could deflect our energy weapons. And this. He pointed at the exhaust pipes. These tubes could fire projectiles or energy beams. Sarah almost did laugh then. They thought the gas tank was an explosive. The spark. Plugs were weapons and the exhaust pipes were gun barrels. No wonder they were scared. General, she tried again. Those are not weapon systems. The chemical compound is just fuel, like the energy cells that power your ships. The metal is for protection, not attack. And those tubes are just for removing waste gases. But Krexthul was not listening. He walked around the motorcycle again, studying it from every angle. His soldiers kept their weapons pointed at Sarah and the bike, as if it might suddenly come to life and attack them. What do you call this weapon? Krexthul asked. Sarah looked around the cargo bay. Miguel was standing near the door, looking, very worried. His bike was his most treasured possession. He had spent years restoring it, making every part perfect. We call it the Beast, Miguel said quietly. Sarah wanted to hit him. That was the worst possible thing he could have said. She saw Krexthul's eyes get wider. The alien soldiers moved back a step. The Beast, Krexthul repeated slowly. A fitting name for such a weapon. Tell me, human Santos, what is the power of the Beast? Miguel looked confused. Power? Well, it's got about 70 horsepower, maybe 80 on a good day. The tactical officer's scanner started beeping even faster. General, 70 power units? That's more energy than our assault rifles. Sarah realized the aliens were using different measurements. What they called a power unit was probably much smaller than a horsepower. To them, Miguel had just said the motorcycle was incredibly powerful. How many of these beasts does your species possess? Krexthul demanded. Sarah thought quickly. She could tell the truth and say there were millions of motorcycles on Earth, but that would probably make the aliens think humanity had an army of superweapons, or she could lie and say this was the only one. But if they ever visited Earth, they would find out the truth. Many people own motorcycles, she said finally. They are common on Earth. This was clearly the wrong answer. Krexthul stepped back, from the bike like it had bitten him. His soldiers raised their weapons higher. Common, he said. You mean to tell me that your people commonly possess weapons of this power? They're not weapons, Sarah said, but her voice sounded weak even to her own ears. The tactical officer was scanning other parts of the cargo bay now. His device beeped when he pointed it at Miguel's toolbox. General, I'm detecting more energy signatures. There are other weapons here. Miguel's toolbox contained normal tools. Wrenches, screwdrivers, a power drill, and some spare parts for the motorcycle. But to the aliens, these probably looked like more weapons or ammunition. Show me, Krexthul ordered. Miguel opened his toolbox with shaking hands. The aliens stared at the tools like they were looking at torture devices. The tactical officer scanned each item. This device, he said, pointing at the power drill, has its own energy source and a rotating attack component. It's a drill, Miguel said weakly. For making holes. For making holes in what? Krexthul asked suspiciously. Wood, metal, whatever you need to drill through. The aliens looked at each other. Sarah could see them thinking that the drill was for making holes in enemy armor or ships. And these? The tactical officer pointed at the wrenches. Tools for working on the motorcycle, Miguel said, for repairs and maintenance. But the alien saw heavy metal clubs that could be used as weapons. Everything innocent that Miguel said made the situation worse. General, the tactical officer, said, I recommend we withdraw our forces and call for reinforcements. These humans are more dangerous than we thought. Krexthul nodded slowly. Perhaps you are right. But first, I want to see this beast in action. Human Santos, you will demonstrate its capabilities. Miguel looked at Sarah. She could see the fear in his eyes. He was afraid that starting the motorcycle would make things worse. But he was also afraid of what would happen if he refused. I don't think that's a good idea, Sarah said. The beast is very powerful. It might damage your ship or hurt someone. This was exactly the wrong thing to say. Krexthol's eyes lit up with interest. Powerful enough to damage a Zephyrian warship? Show me. Commander, Miguel whispered. What should I do? Sarah looked around the cargo bay. They were surrounded by armed aliens who thought Miguel's motorcycle was a superweapon. If she said no, they would probably kill everyone. If she said yes, who knew what would happen when the aliens saw the bike in action? General, she said, if we demonstrate the beast, will you let my crew go free? Krexthol thought about this. If you cooperate fully, I will consider letting you live. But first, you will show me how this weapon works, all of its capabilities. Sarah nodded to Miguel, started up. Miguel approached his motorcycle carefully. The aliens watched every move he made. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the keys. The small jingling sound made the soldiers jump. Those are activation codes? The tactical officer asked. Something like that, Miguel said. He put the key in the ignition and turned it. The electrical system came on. The headlight lit up, bright and white. The alien stepped back, thinking it was some kind of energy beam charging up. Now what? Miguel asked quietly. Start the engine, Sarah said, but try to do it gently. Miguel nodded. He pressed the starter button. The motorcycle coughed once, then twice. On the third try, the engine caught and began to run. The sound echoed through the cargo bay like thunder. The effect on the aliens was immediate and dramatic. They had never heard anything like it. Their weapons and vehicles were silent, powered by quiet energy systems. The deep rumbling roar of the Harley's engine sounded like the growl of some massive angry animal. Two of the alien soldiers ran for the door. The tactical officer dropped his scanner, and it clattered across the floor. Even General Krexthol took several steps backward. What is that sound? He shouted over the engine noise. That's just how it runs, Miguel shouted back. The motorcycle was idling quietly, but to the aliens, it sounded like a monster preparing to attack. And Miguel had not even given it any gas yet. Sarah realized they had accidentally found the perfect weapon to scare these aliens. Not because the motorcycle was dangerous, but because it was so completely different from anything they had ever experienced. Is that its battle cry? Krexthol asked. Before Sarah could answer, Miguel blipped the throttle. The engine roared louder, for a moment, then settled back to its quiet idle. The remaining aliens nearly fell over themselves trying to get away from the bike. Incredible, Krexthol breathed. How do you control such a beast? Miguel sat on his motorcycle in the cargo bay looking very nervous. The engine was still running, making its deep rumbling sound. The aliens stood as far away as they could while still watching. General Krexthol's yellow eyes were wide with what looked like fear and amazement. Show me how you control it, Krexthol demanded. Demonstrate its attack modes. Sarah felt her heart beating fast. This was getting out of hand. But maybe, just maybe, they could use the aliens' fear to their advantage. Miguel, she said carefully, show the general how the beast moves. Miguel looked at her with confusion, but then he seemed to understand. He pulled in the clutch and put the bike in first gear. The engine sound changed slightly. The aliens noticed immediately. It's changing power levels, the blue-skinned tactical officer said. He had picked up his scanner from the floor. The energy signature is shifting. Miguel slowly let out the clutch. The motorcycle moved forward a few feet, then stopped. It was just a normal start, but the aliens acted like they had seen magic. It moves without wheels touching the ground, one soldier asked. The wheels are touching the ground, Sarah said, but she realized the aliens had never seen wheels before. Their vehicles probably floated using anti-gravity technology. Those round things make it move? Krexthol asked. What kind of propulsion system is that? Miguel gave the bike a little gas and rode it in a slow circle around the cargo bay. The engine noise echoed off the walls. The aliens turned their heads to follow him, like they were watching a dangerous animal prowl around its cage. The beast is hunting, one soldier whispered to another. Miguel heard him and almost smiled. But then he remembered these aliens had weapons pointed at him and his friends. Can it move faster? Krexthul asked. Miguel looked at Sarah. She nodded slightly. He shifted into second gear and gave the bike more throttle. The Harley moved faster around the cargo bay, its engine sound getting louder and deeper. The aliens pressed themselves against the walls. They had never seen anything move so smoothly and make so much noise at the same time. To them, it looked like Miguel was riding some kind of metal animal. Incredible speed, the tactical officer said, reading his scanner. And look at the agility, it can turn in very small spaces. Miguel was just doing normal motorcycle riding, but the aliens had never seen anything like it. Their vehicles were probably big and clumsy compared to a bike. Show them a wheelie, Sarah said quietly. Miguel's eyes got wide. Are you sure? Trust me. Miguel took a deep breath. He rode to one end of the cargo bay, then accelerated toward the other end. Just before he reached the wall, he pulled back on the handlebars and gave the engine more gas. The front wheel came up off the ground. The aliens screamed. 2 more soldiers ran out of the cargo bay. The tactical officer dropped his scanner again. Even General Krexthul stumbled backward and hit the wall. It can fly. Someone shouted. Miguel rode the wheelie for about 10 feet, then let the front wheel come down. He was breathing hard. Doing wheelies in a small space was not easy, but the aliens did not know that. How does it defy gravity? Krexthul demanded. What kind of technology allows it to lift off the ground? It's not flying, Sarah said. It's just balancing on the back wheel. But the aliens did not understand. They thought Miguel had made the motorcycle float in the air using some kind of advanced science. Can it fly higher? The tactical officer asked. He sounded scared and excited at the same time. Show them a burnout, Sarah suggested. Miguel looked confused for a moment, then understood. He stopped the bike and held the front brake. Then he gave the engine gas while letting out the clutch. The rear tire started spinning. Smoke rose from the rubber as it burned against the metal floor. The smell of burning tire filled the cargo bay. The noise was incredible, the engine roaring and the tire screaming. This time, even General Krexthul ran for the door. Poison gas. Attack! He shouted. Chemical weapons! The aliens all rushed out of the cargo bay, coughing and covering their faces. They left Sarah and Miguel alone with the motorcycle. Miguel let off the gas and put the bike in neutral. The tire stopped spinning, but smoke still rose from the black mark on the floor. What did I just do? He asked Sarah. You scared them to death, she said. They think your bike is some kind of super weapon. My bike? It's just a Harley. To them, it's unlike anything they've ever seen. They use energy weapons and floating vehicles. They've never seen an internal combustion engine or wheels. Miguel looked down at his motorcycle. So they think this is dangerous? Very dangerous. The question is, what do we do now? Before Sarah could think of an answer, General Krexthul came back. He stayed near the door and held a breathing mask over his face. 2 soldiers with masks stood behind him. Human commander, he called out. Call off your weapon. We surrender. Sarah blinked. You surrender? Your beast is more powerful than anything we have ever encountered. It can fly, create poison gas, and make sounds that hurt our ears. We do not wish to fight such a weapon. Sarah looked at Miguel. He shrugged and turned off the motorcycle. The sudden silence seemed very loud. General, Sarah said carefully, we don't want to fight you either. We told you we were peaceful explorers. Peaceful? Krexthul laughed, but it sounded nervous. You carry weapons that can defy gravity and create chemical attacks. You call that peaceful? We call it transportation. If that is your transportation, Krexthul said, what are your actual weapons like? Sarah realized she had a choice. She could tell the truth and try to convince the aliens that motorcycles were harmless. But they probably would not believe her, or she could let them keep thinking humans had super weapons. That might keep her crew safe. Our weapons are much more powerful, she said quietly. The aliens made frightened sounds. Krexthul's face went even more gray than usual. How much more powerful? He asked. Sarah thought about Earth, about cars and trucks and trains and airplanes, about rockets and construction equipment. If the aliens thought a motorcycle was scary, What would they think about a jet engine or a tank? Much more powerful, she repeated. And every human has access to these weapons? Sarah thought about her hometown. Everyone there had cars. Many people had motorcycles. Some had boats or small planes. Most humans have at least one, she said. This was technically true. Most people did have vehicles. But the aliens thought she was talking about weapons. How many humans are there? Krexthul asked. His voice was very quiet now. Billions, Sarah said. The aliens started talking to each other in their own language. They sounded very upset and scared. Sarah could not understand the words, but she could hear the fear in their voices. General, the tactical officer said. In English, we should contact Admiral Vex then immediately. This changes everything. Krexthul nodded. Yes, we need reinforcements. Many reinforcements. Wait, Sarah said. You don't need reinforcements. We can talk about this. Maybe we can be friends instead of enemies. Friends? Krexthul looked surprised. You would be friends with those who threatened you? We understand that first meetings can be confusing, Sarah said. Maybe we misunderstood each other. You are very generous, Krexthul said. Most species with such powerful weapons would have attacked us by now. Sarah was starting to understand how this misunderstanding could work in humanity's favor. If the aliens thought humans were incredibly powerful but peaceful, they might want to avoid a war. Humans prefer peace, she said. But we can defend ourselves if necessary. Yes, Krexthul said, looking at the motorcycle. I can see that. Miguel whispered to Sarah. Should I start it up again? No, she whispered back. I think we've scared them enough for now. But Krexthul heard them whispering. You can activate the beast again at any time? Of course, Sarah said. Anytime we want. The aliens looked even more nervous. They were starting to realize they had made a big mistake by threatening the humans. General Krexthul stood in the doorway of the cargo bay, still wearing his breathing mask. His yellow eyes kept looking at Miguel's motorcycle like it might start moving by itself. The other aliens whispered to each other in their strange language. Sarah could tell they were scared, but she was not sure how long she could keep up this act. Human Commander, Krexthul said finally. I must contact my fleet. This situation is more serious than we thought. What do you mean? Sarah asked, trying to sound innocent. If humans possess many weapons like the beast, then the Zephyrian hegemony must reconsider our approach to your species. Sarah felt a chill run down her back. Were they talking about attacking Earth? She had to be very careful with her next words. What kind of approach? She asked. Krexthul's scarred face showed confusion. We came here expecting to find another weak species to conquer, but you have shown us weapons beyond our understanding. We must warn our people. The tactical officer stepped forward. General, should I send a priority message to Admiral Vex then? Yes, Krexthul said. Tell her we have encountered a Class A threat civilization. Request immediate reinforcements. Sarah's heart started beating faster. Reinforcements? General, that sounds like you're planning to attack us. Attack you? Krexthul laughed nervously. Human Commander, we are not fools. One of your transportation devices defeated 4 of my best soldiers. What would happen if you brought out your actual weapons? Miguel whispered to Sarah. What actual weapons? Sarah whispered back. Just play along. But the aliens heard them whispering again. The tactical officer pointed his scanner at them. General, he said, they're communicating in some kind of code. Planning strategy, perhaps. We're not planning anything, Sarah said quickly. We were just discussing how to avoid any misunderstandings. Krexthul nodded slowly. You are wise to be cautious. Tell me, Human Commander, what other types of transportation do your people use? Sarah thought about this question. She could mention cars, trucks, trains, planes, boats, and spaceships. But if motorcycles scared them this much, what would they think about a jumbo jet or an aircraft carrier? We have many different types, she said carefully. Larger than the beast? Some are larger, yes. How much larger? Sarah thought about a cruise ship or a freight train. Much larger. The aliens made worried sounds. They started talking to each other again in their own language. Sarah heard the word Admiral several times. And smaller vehicles? Krexthul asked. Sarah thought about bicycles and skateboards. Even those might seem strange to aliens who had never seen wheels. Yes, we have smaller ones too. For children? Some children have their own vehicles, yes. This was true. Kids had bikes and scooters and toy cars. But the aliens looked terrified at the idea of human children having weapons. Your species arms its young? The tactical officer asked in shock. We give them vehicles appropriate for their age, Sarah said. But the aliens heard this as, we give children weapons suitable for their training level. How young do you start weapon training? Krexthul demanded. Sarah thought about kids learning to ride bikes. Usually around 4 or 5 years old. The aliens looked at each other with horror. In their minds, humans were so warlike that they gave weapons to preschoolers. And by the time they reach adult age, Krexthul asked. Most adults are very skilled with their vehicles, Sarah said. Again, this was true. Most people could drive cars competently, but the aliens thought she meant most humans were expert warriors. The tactical officer was working frantically with his communicator. General, I've reached Admiral Vex then. She wants to speak with you immediately. Krexthul took the communicator. Admiral, this is General Krexthul reporting from the human vessel. A new voice came through the device. It sounded female but harsh, like metal scraping against stone. General, your report mentions Class A threat weapons. Explain. Admiral, the humans possess weapons technology far beyond anything in our databases. They have devices that can defy gravity, create chemical attacks, and generate sound waves that can incapacitate our soldiers. Impossible, the Admiral's voice said. Our intelligence reported humans as a primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel. Our intelligence was wrong, Admiral, very wrong. Sarah listened to this conversation with growing alarm. She had wanted to scare the aliens away from her ship, but now it sounded like they might bring their entire fleet to attack Earth. General, she interrupted, may I speak with your Admiral? Krexthul looked surprised. You wish to speak with Admiral Vex, then? If she's making decisions about humans, maybe she should hear our side of the story. Krexthul spoke into the communicator. Admiral, the human commander wishes to speak with you. There was a pause. Then the harsh voice said, Put the human on. Krexthul handed the communicator to Sarah. She took it with shaking hands. Admiral Vex, then, she said. I am Commander Sarah Chen of the human exploration vessel Endeavor. Human Commander. The Admiral's voice came through clearly. My general reports that your species possesses advanced weapons technology. Is this accurate? Sarah chose her words very carefully. Admiral, we have the technology to defend ourselves, if necessary, but we prefer peaceful contact with other species. Yet you travel with weapons of mass destruction? Sarah looked at Miguel's motorcycle. A weapon of mass destruction? We travel with the tools we need to survive and explore. Tools that can overcome Zephyrian military technology? Different species develop different technologies, Sarah said. What seems powerful to you might seem normal to us. This was actually a smart answer. It did not deny that humans had powerful technology, but it also suggested that humans were so advanced that they considered it routine. I see, the Admiral said. And how many ships like yours does humanity possess? Sarah thought about all the spaceships, airplanes, boats, and cars on Earth. Many thousands, she said. This was true if you counted all vehicles. But the Admiral thought she meant thousands of warships, thousands of vessels with weapons like yours. Human technology is widely distributed, Sarah said. Again, this was true. Almost everyone had cars and phones and other technology. But the Admiral interpreted this as meaning humans had military technology everywhere. Human Commander, the Admiral said after a long pause. The Zephyrian hegemony does not wish to make enemies of such a powerful civilization. Sarah felt a spark of hope. We don't want to be enemies either, Admiral. Perhaps we should discuss a treaty, the Admiral suggested. A treaty sounds like a good idea, Sarah agreed. General Krexthul will negotiate the terms with you. I am ordering all Zephyrian ships to maintain a safe distance from human vessels until we reach an agreement. Sarah looked at Krexthul. That sounds reasonable to us. One more thing, human commander, the admiral said. As a gesture of good faith, would you be willing to demonstrate your peaceful intentions? What kind of demonstration? Sarah asked, nervously. Perhaps you could show us more of your technology, so we can better understand your capabilities? Sarah looked at Miguel. He was standing next to his motorcycle with a worried expression. She realized the admiral wanted to see more weapons, but all they had was a motorcycle, some tools, and normal ship equipment. We could show you some of our other systems, she said carefully. Excellent. General Krexthul will observe and report back to me. The communication ended. Krexthul took back the communicator and looked at Sarah with what might have been respect. Human commander, he said, the admiral is very impressed with your people. She rarely agrees to negotiate with species we encounter. We're honored by her willingness to talk, Sarah said. Now, about this demonstration, Krexthul said. What other weapons will you show us? Sarah's mind raced. They had to show the aliens something, but they did not have any real weapons. Then she had an idea. Miguel, she said, show the general your other equipment. Miguel looked confused, but then he understood. He walked over to his toolbox and pulled out his power drill. This is another piece of our technology, Sarah said. The drill looked innocent enough, but the alien's scanner immediately started beeping when Miguel held it up. Another weapon? Krexthul asked with fascination and fear. Another tool, Sarah corrected. But she said it in a way that suggested the distinction did not matter much. Miguel turned on the drill. It made a high-pitched whirring sound as the bit spun around. To humans, it was just a normal power tool. To the aliens, it sounded like some kind of energy weapon charging up. What does it do? The tactical officer asked. It makes holes, Miguel said. In what? Miguel looked around the cargo bay. He saw a piece of scrap metal in one corner. Watch. He walked over to the metal and pressed the drill against it. The bit cut through the steel like it was soft wood. Metal shavings fell to the floor. The aliens stepped back in alarm. It can penetrate our armor, one soldier whispered. And technically, that was probably true. A power drill could probably punch through their armor if someone got close enough to use it. Incredible, Krexthul breathed. How many different weapons do humans carry? Sarah looked around the cargo bay, at the wrenches, screwdrivers, spare parts, and scientific equipment. All of it probably looked like weapons or military supplies to these aliens. We carry what we need, she said. 3 hours later, Sarah sat in her ship's meeting room across from General Krexthul. The alien had removed his breathing mask and seemed more relaxed, but his yellow eyes still showed caution and respect. On the table between them lay a formal treaty document written in both English and Zephyrian symbols. Article 5, Krexthul read aloud, establishes mutual non-aggression between the Zephyrian hegemony and the Human Federation. Neither party will attack vessels or territory of the other without direct provocation. Sarah nodded. That sounds fair to both our peoples. Behind Krexthul, his tactical officer continued scanning everything in the room with his device. The coffee maker made him nervous. Sarah's tablet computer caused his scanner to beep rapidly. Even the overhead lights seemed to worry him. Human, Commander, Krexthul said. I must ask one more time. Are you certain your people will honor this treaty? General, humans value peace with other civilizations. We have no desire to conquer or harm your people. This was completely true. Sarah meant every word, but Krexthul heard it differently. To him, she was saying that humans were so powerful they did not need to conquer anyone. They could afford to be generous. Your restraint is admirable, he said. Most species with your level of technology would have demanded tribute or territory. We prefer trade and friendship to conquest, Sarah replied. Yes, Admiral Vex then was very impressed by your peaceful approach. She has classified humanity as a protected ally rather than a threat target. Sarah felt relief wash over her. What does that mean exactly? It means any Zephyrian ship that encounters humans must offer assistance if needed. We are also sharing your territorial boundaries with other species in this region, warning them not to attack human vessels. This was better than Sarah had hoped. Not only were the aliens leaving them alone, but they were also protecting humans from other hostile species. That's very generous of your people, she said. It is wisdom, not generosity, Krexthul replied. The hegemony has learned not to make enemies of civilizations that possess weapons like the beast. From the cargo bay, they could hear Miguel working on his motorcycle. He was doing routine maintenance, but the sounds of his tools echoed through the ship. Every clang and scrape made the alien soldiers jump. General, Sarah said carefully, I want to make sure there are no misunderstandings between our species. What exactly do you think you saw today? Krexthul leaned back in his chair. Human Commander, we encountered technology beyond our understanding. Your transportation device defied gravity, created chemical warfare clouds, and generated sonic attacks that could incapacitate trained soldiers. Sarah almost smiled. The wheelie had convinced them the motorcycle could fly. The tire burnout looked like a chemical weapon, and the engine noise sounded like some kind of sonic weapon. And your other equipment, Krexthul continued, showed similar advanced capabilities. Devices that could penetrate our strongest armor, energy systems that overwhelmed our sensors. He was talking about Miguel's power drill and the motorcycle's electrical system. General, Sarah said, what if I told you that this technology is not actually advanced by human standards? Krexthul's eyes widened. Not advanced? You mean humans have even more powerful weapons? Sarah realized she had made another mistake. Every time she tried to downplay their technology, the aliens thought she meant humans had something even better. Humans have many different technologies, she said carefully. For war? For many purposes. War, peace, exploration, construction, entertainment. Entertainment? Krexthul looked confused. You use advanced weapons for entertainment. Sarah thought about motorcycle racing, car shows, and air shows. Some people enjoy demonstrating their vehicles in competitions. Gladiatorial combat with weapons like the beast? Competitive events, yes. The alien's face went pale gray. In his mind, humans were so warlike that they held death matches with superweapons for fun. How many humans participate in these combat sports? Sarah thought about NASCAR, MotoGP, and local racing events. Many thousands compete professionally. Millions watch. Krexthul made a choking sound. Millions of humans gathered to watch weapon combat? How bloodthirsty was this species? Are there survivors? He asked weakly. Usually everyone goes home safely, Sarah said. This confused the alien even more. How could deadly weapon combat be safe? Human technology must include advanced medical capabilities, he concluded. We do have good medical technology, Sarah agreed. From Krexthul's perspective, humans were so advanced they could fight with superweapons and then heal any injuries instantly. No wonder they seemed so casual about violence. A chime sounded from the alien's communicator. He answered it quickly. General, came Admiral Vexthen's harsh voice. Report on treaty negotiations. Admiral, the treaty has been signed. Humanity agrees to peaceful coexistence with the hegemony. Excellent, and their military assessment? Krexthul looked at Sarah. Admiral, human military capability exceeds our previous estimates by several orders of magnitude. I recommend classifying them as a Tier 1 civilization. Tier 1? The Admiral sounded shocked. Are you certain? They possess weapons technology. We cannot comprehend medical science that can reverse combat injuries, and a warrior culture that considers deadly combat entertainment. Their children begin weapons training at age 4. Sarah wanted to interrupt and explain that he was talking about bicycles and Band-Aids and Little League baseball. But she realized the misunderstanding was protecting not just her crew, but possibly all of humanity. Very well, the Admiral said. I am ordering all hegemony forces to withdraw from human space immediately. We will establish a buffer zone of 50 light-years around their territory. Understood, Admiral. General, return to the fleet. We have much to discuss. The communication ended. Krexthul stood up and extended his hand to Sarah. She shook it, surprised by the formal gesture. Human Commander, it has been an honor to negotiate with your people. I hope our species can be friends for many generations. I hope so too, General. Krexthul walked toward the airlock, followed by his soldiers. At the doorway, he paused and looked back. Commander Chen, he said, may I offer some advice? Of course. When your people eventually contact other species, you might consider moderating your displays of power. Not all civilizations are as wise as the hegemony. Some might react with fear rather than respect. Sarah nodded solemnly. We'll keep that in mind. And perhaps, Krexthul added, you could keep weapons like the beast secured when meeting new species. Their power might be overwhelming. We'll be more careful in the future, Sarah promised. After the aliens left, Sarah walked down to the cargo bay. Miguel was sitting on his motorcycle cleaning the chrome with a soft cloth. So, he said without looking up, my bike just prevented an interstellar war. Looks that way. And they think it's a weapon of mass destruction. The most terrifying weapon they've ever encountered. Miguel patted the motorcycle's fuel tank affectionately. Good girl. Who's a scary war machine? You are. Yes, you are. Sarah laughed. It felt good to laugh after the stress of the last few hours. Miguel, she said, when we get back to Earth, we need to write a very interesting report. What are we going to tell them? The truth. That we made first contact with a hostile alien fleet and your motorcycle scared them into signing a peace treaty. Think they'll believe us? Sarah thought about Admiral Vex's then's promise to establish a 50-light-year buffer zone around human space. When Earth's deep space monitoring stations detected the Zephyrian fleet withdrawing, there would be evidence to support their story. They'll have to believe us, she said. And Miguel? Yeah? Command is probably going to want every human ship to carry motorcycles from now on. Miguel grinned and started up his bike. The engine roared to life, filling the cargo bay with its deep, powerful sound. Well, he said over the noise, at least the beast will get the respect she deserves. As the Endeavor set course for Earth, Miguel revved his motorcycle one more time. Somewhere in the distance, Zephyrian sensors detected the energy signature and added another note to their files about human superweapons. The report would eventually reach the galactic community, where it would be filed under species too dangerous to contact. For years to come, alien civilizations would give human space a wide berth, terrified of encountering the legendary war machines known as motorcycles. And on Earth, motorcycle sales would mysteriously skyrocket after the government quietly suggested that every household should own at least one recreational vehicle for reasons of planetary security. The beast had indeed earned her place in history,